Okay. Hello, welcome to Digital Experience. This is our iteration in retro. We'll go over the last 2-week period, really more like a week and change, since we're just coming back from the holidays. Today is Thursday, January 11th, and we'll talk about things that went well and then things to improve on. So first, for things that went well is Miguel.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Miracle because of her help to the team. Over the holidays, there was a leak over some API keys. So we needed to regenerate them. And yeah, thank you for supporting us there. And next is Nathan.
Thanks. Continuing on the outages or I would say the bad news, but good news. Yeah, we had a good chat. Michael kind of took us aside at some point before the end of the year, and it was like we had a lot of 4-4s going on. It's like we need to come up with an action plan now, and we need to action it. And so it was really nice to get everyone in a room and like quickly come up with what the issues are, patch the issues, and then figure out kind of what we're gonna do going forward. So we even have like 404 stuff for quantum metrics getting implemented now. Some alerting is already done, but soon in DEx alerts, we'll be having like 404 monitoring. So then we'll know if I don't know, essential pages are going down or any page is kind of outside that normal range. But yeah, thank you. Miracle, you're up next.
I forgot I was next. Thanks, Megan. If it wasn't for you answering all of my panic texts over the holidays about these API keys, I don't know what would have happened because I had no idea who else I was supposed to talk to. So thank you. And sorry for bugging you over the holidays. Sorry, I'm gonna pass it to Laura, even though you're in the middle of typing.
I'm in the middle of typing. I just remembered one also, but I'm also going to thank Megan. There's been this like bug going on with the jobs page, and it's just been like a nightmare, and none of us want to touch it because it's in www. And so like, thank you for spending so much time looking into it. It's like, considering it's not really a project that we own anymore, and it's like a weird bug. It's, it's nice that you jumped on that, and there are people kind of watching it. Looks like we have a resolution to just like move it into buyer experience, which is probably the best response. We can do things to improve on, I guess. Nathan?
Thanks. Yeah, one thing kind of going off what we were talking about earlier is the last couple months, I think since we've started migrating over to the CMS, we've been really pushing the limits of our infrastructure and of our pipeline, and we've been seeing it crack. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've seen our homepage get reverted. We've seen our solutions pages get reverted. We've seen this jQuery bug going on with the job pages. Like, this is all stuff that is easily preventable. It's just we have to get ahead of it. And I think we've gone too far and haven't updated our infrastructure in a long time. Like looking at www, we're still technically in www, and it's like 12 years old. We have jQuery in there. We have Ruby. We have scripts. Like we have stuff that we're not even familiar with anymore. Like some of those Ruby scripts, none of us know Ruby. None of us know Rails. Like I just think there's a huge urgency to get out of there. And also there's this like weird timing now because of the way our site builds is that www pulls artifacts from all over the place. We build them, we layer them on top. Like it's way more complicated than it needs to be. And so I don't know what the quarter plans are. I don't know what they are for the next quarter. I have a rough gauge, but if there's any chance we can kind of create an epic and get some work done towards this, it'd be awesome. I started an epic. Like I said, there's no plans, I don't think, to get any of it actioned, but I just want to get the ball rolling and kind of come up with like I don't know, like a 3-step plan. Like you'll see there's MVC 1, 2, 3. I put in a kind of a little schematics of what the pipeline looks like now, what would look like after MVC 1, 2, 3. But I'd love to just get some brainstorming on that and maybe get some buy-in from leadership to something we can action. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that, Lauren. I see you typing up a storm.
Yeah. I just want to say thanks, Nathan, for putting that together. I think that's a great start. I'd like for everyone to take a look at that. Add your thoughts. Some things I want the team to consider when we're looking at this, because site and CMS stability is a priority. Our current state is not sustainable. It's not working. It's stressful. We need to get it to a better space and a better spot for the site and for also our team. And so things to consider is what decisions need to be made. One that's floating around is like, should we use that custom page template for everything, or what pages should we use it for? What is that path forward for a more stable CMS, what needs to be done to deliver that stable CMS, and what is the timeline. Like, we can't just say we're going to deliver it, it's going to be good, and we're going to work on it forever. We don't have forever. We need, like, all right, we're going to do this and deliver it on this date, and be mindful of that time that you're asking for. So those are some things I just like the team to consider while we're reviewing this, because it is a priority. We got to get everything to a more stable spot. John, do you want to vocalize your staging comment here?
Yes. I saw that when we create draft content for the review apps, sometimes we break others' review apps. I don't know if by having a staging environment, we can prevent that. I'm not sure. We should like do a POC or something. And by having a staging environment in Contentful, we can have like a production copy of everything in this staging environment and make review apps and work in this staging environment, and then we can publish all this content to production. I don't know if this can be the final solution, but I have been thinking of this and maybe it could work.
I have a thought on that, so I didn't write it down. But I'm also considering, what if we just remove almost that preview API and make it like a manual job, so that if you are doing work and you need to see a draft state, then there's like a special pipeline we can trigger that'll then turn on the preview state. Because what I see is review apps break all the time because, like you said, other people maybe have something in draft state. Or I'm wondering if we have like a production, what's it called? The content, like the production API by default. And then if you really need the preview API, then to use it. Because I think a lot of the time we're not necessarily adding new pages. Sometimes we are, but I don't know. But yeah, I think a review app is, or a stage environment is the proper way to go. Or multiple, having like 5 in a cycle or something like that.
I do have a question. This site CMS reliability issue, is this something that we are just looking to solve by optimizing the pipeline? I mean, for the issue that is related there, how much of this will be solved by a new infrastructure and the different MVCs, and how much will be to solve like the actual production environment and not our dev environment? And also, I mean, much of this is because we have great flexibility on the CMS. So I believe that there's some trade-off to be made between the objective of a self-serving site and the stability. I mean, we would like to have the best of both worlds, but there's going to be some trade-offs, and not just on the pipeline, I think, maybe also on the processes and stuff.
It's a long one to answer, but I know, like when I've been reviewing this kind of whole, like the outages, and I've been trying to list them all out and see what exactly has been breaking. And we have a lot of frustrating things happen with the CMS, but none of it is really critical. And I find all the critical issues we're having are like the rate limits with the CMS, are like I said, the artifacts are layering on top of each other. And so I think the really big culprit here is dub dub dub. I think once we get rid of dub 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 and we're completely like torn away from it, I think everything's just going to be so much easier. Because even now, even if you do a build in the blog or BE, like it still goes to dub dub dub. Like it's not just a quick, hey, I want to change one page on the blog, go to GCP and update that one page. We have to go through this whole thing of like merging 3 repos together, then layering them on top of each other. And we're not running that like once a day. We're running that on publish. And these webhooks have like really pushed our pipeline to like the limits. And so I think by removing complexity from the pipeline, we can speed up pipelines, like limit the surface area of like security, of attacks, of complex, of like, you know, where we're seeing errors. So I think the big thing is getting out of dub. I think the second thing is getting the rate limit thing sorted out with Contentful. And then from there, the little odds bugs, I think we can solve as they come up. Because like you said, I mean, it's going to be dynamic. There's going to be hundreds of people in their editing. We're always going to see issues. Like our review apps are always going to break, as crappy as it sounds. But that's the trade-off, like you said, to having this flexible and dynamic. And that's kind of my thoughts on that. You ready to jump onto the next one, or do we have any final thoughts?
Well, how do we want to move this forward? I see that it's in an epic here. Does everyone want to chime in on that epic and provide feedback, or would you prefer to work from a Google Doc? Since I think we're still in the planning mode here, where it's draft. What
We
is
can
the
also-
team feeling?
Either works. We can also even use that epic and worst case close it and make a new epic with all the changes, so it's a lot cleaner. I'm easy to either. I do like
Yeah.
having it, yeah. Same with you, Miguel. I like having it in GitLab, so at least there's
Yeah,
a
that
trace
works
of-
for me. Let's keep it in there, and like these are big conversations, big things. So let's flush it out and talk about it, open and transparent in that epic. And yeah, if it gets too messy, you know, once we get to that final state, we can close it and open a new one and then plan all the work.
There's one thing I saw that I wanted to mention, but Nathan, maybe you already saw this. I'm gonna link it here in the chat. There is Contentful supports like advanced caching, they call it, and there's this option where if it would return a rate limit error, it instead returns like the previous version of whatever the request is. So that would prevent the rate limit errors, and there's the risk of having outdated data but not broken pipelines. And it's not an option you can activate. It's like you need support to do it for you. So maybe you already talked about this with support, but sounds promising.
We haven't talked about this, but we have talked about, it's hard because this is a public video. I don't want to go into detail, but you know, when we did sign up for Contentful, we gave them our criteria, and you know, we have 2,000 blog posts, and we're expecting that the plan that we were put on meets the expectations that we had set from the beginning. And so I think there's conversations now to just to get the rate limits updated, because the solutions that they have, like doing like we don't have Nux 3 yet. We can't do partial builds. We can't use their sync API because we don't have partial builds. We don't want to use a sync API because then we have to store all the data locally, and then defeats the purpose of a CMS, because now we have data in two places. So there's like a lot of bigger conversations that should have been had months ago, but this is where we're at, and I think the best way forward is to up our rate limits, but that's going to be a conversation with, I think, Michael and Contentful. Okay, I'll jump on to the next one then. We can always come back. I just don't want to talk about Contentful and our pipelines for the whole time. The next one, in one of the CMS office hours, Amy Waller brought up that Marketo forms. I don't know if we're thoroughly testing them when we're adding Marketo forms to new pages or we're editing existing Marketo forms, but she mentioned that there's a lot of forms that were breaking or weren't going through the pipeline properly. So there's an issue created, and I think she said it a comment like an hour or two ago, but just something to consider. I don't know what this looks like, if it's an extra step in our merge request template or how we want to handle this, but it's just something to consider, because I think it happened with the code suggestions thing where we didn't properly test the Marketo form and then ended up breaking. So especially for big stuff like that, we really got to have a step in place.
Do you know, like for the Marketo forms, like the code suggestions one, I think that was like definitely my bad. I put in the request quite late, because all of that was going very quickly. But like in terms of roles and responsibilities, like are we responsible for testing that, or is that a marketing ops thing? Because can we even see the data in Salesforce, or how does that work?
From what I've seen, it looks like there's a whole process that the marketing ops team has, and that we have to kind of submit a new form, and then they go through the whole flow and make sure it works with their systems and everything, which
Okay,
I
but like,
didn't know this existed.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Like that was a whole new process for me. So I think it was a good learning moment. But like I'm just like surprised when you're saying like, oh, we should have tested it. I just wouldn't have expected that to be on our team.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I don't think it is. I think
Okay.
it was on us though to reach out
I
to
made the
marketing ops and be
request.
like, yeah, but like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know that either. I had no idea that that even existed. We've been adding
Yeah.
Marketo forms for like years.
Yeah. And it's like I think we're like very rarely need Marketo forms, so it was just confusing. And I saw Amy did like a whole like process update that she's asked for feedback on, so I'll provide that. But I think it was honestly just an error on our part to have not put the request in as sooner.
Yeah.
I think that would have solved a lot of problems.
So it looks like that one will get dealt with and we'll have an issue. But in the meantime, if you have a Marketo form, just keep that in the back of your mind.
And are other Marketo forms breaking, or was it just that one?
It just appears to be new ones or ones that we've
Oh, okay.
like edited or changed the flow of. But no, it's like 99% of them are new Marketo forms.
Okay.
I'm seeing a note there,
Oh.
changes in URL. That's one too. We've
Oh,
got
that
one.
would impact it too?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one on Tuesday.
Yeah. So
Oh,
like very least we can do is like ping them in the MR and be like, yo.
okay. And that should I do you want me to do that? Did Miracle do that?
Let's do it in Miracle's MR.
Okay, Miracle, do you mind pinging them?
Yeah, I can do it.
Thank you.
Just wondering, when you say they were breaking, were they just not showing up in the page, or was it after submit, or at what point were they breaking?
I don't have the full details on it. I just know that there was a
I
break
can
in the
provide
page.
a little insight here.
Yeah.
So when a user submits like a form, it goes into Marketo, and in Marketo they have all kinds of automated workflows and processes based on what URL the form was submitted, like, and when and where. And so it's that process that's breaking it. Like won't necessarily break like the form on the site, but it breaks the automation in the back end.
But then how do we realize that it broke on the back end if we see it like submit correctly from our side?
I'm not sure. We don't know. So let's figure that out.
Yeah, I think we
Let's
need to clarify roles and responsibility with marketing ops because I don't think that's something that our team could realistically be accountable for. Like, I think there's like certain triggers that we would be, but I think overall
Yeah.
testing and like reliability of Marketo forms, I think that would be a hard one for us to own. Like, I think URL changes or if there's a new form or whatever, like, I think those are realistic ones, but yeah. I'll read through Amy's process suggestions to see what she suggested and see if we can maybe just clarify when we would need to connect with them.
I will also call out for testing. I did, like when I was doing my onboarding meeting with that team, marketing ops, we live tested a form that was on a page in draft mode still, like it wasn't published yet. And I filled it out and like just to see if the form actually submitted, and it does. Like it behaves just like it. So for testing, you can send your draft content to Amy or whoever, and they can like fill out forms and test it, and it should be hooked up properly, as far as we know. I think I've got the next one here. Yeah, so publishing in Contentful, trying to give people access has been kind of a mess. The assumption that I had, and I think that most of us have, is that, you know, you can give a whole team a certain level of access, like creating or editing content, and then you can upgrade like one person on that team to be a publisher, or some number of people, like a subset of people on that team to be publishers. But from what I've seen, like I've been upgrading random people to publishers on their teams who have been asking for it, and then, you know, they can't publish. We hop on a call together, we sign in, we sign out under their account. Like I'm checking the Contentful, like there's a section where you can test people's roles and see what access they should have, and like it's showing that they should be able to publish, but I'm seeing with my eyeballs that they can't. And so something is weird. It's going on. It's weird. We're starting to figure out publishing and tagging and access and stuff now. So, yeah, it hasn't been going well. I think a lot of people want publish access, and I've had to upgrade entire teams just to give them publish access, which I think is like wrong. So I plan on reaching out to Contentful separately from all the rate limiting stuff that we've been talking to them about and seeing like, is this expected? Am I doing something wrong? But yeah, hopefully everyone remains patient that wants publish access. I'm trying to give them the keys.
That was gonna be my first response, was like, let's reach out to Contentful on that one. I would expect that to work.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, we'll just have to reorganize how we've done teams, which we can do. It's just some work. And then my B here was part of like, is this tags thing gonna alleviate some of this headache for us on enabling users to publish to certain things?
Allegedly, when we had like demos with Contentful, this is how tagging is supposed to work. Like, this is how they told us it would work, but I've never built out a tagging system. I think, Nathan, maybe you built out the confidential tag. So like, it's working as you expect, right? Like, it so far so good.
Yeah, the only scary thing is that if you add a new user that's not part of a role or a group, then they're kind of just like, they don't apply to the negative rules. So if you say you can't see something, then they can see it because you never told them they couldn't see it. And so yes, it works. You used to be very careful when adding new users that they're in a specific group or a role. Like, you still have to use roles and permissions.
Okay. But yeah, we can sync up on that too if I have any trouble. But yeah, I think I'm slated to work on that tagging stuff next iteration. I think this all ties together. So hopefully it'll get better, and hopefully all these people that want access, we can give them the right level of access.
I'm nervous about giving whole teams all the keys. But just based on the instability of our system right now. So yeah, let's get that sorted out. I had the next one, which was I wasn't clear on the direction of our pneumatic demos till we had our release video today. And I was just wondering if there's something we can do to improve the communication between UX and engineering. Phil's asked what was unclear, and I linked the two threads there. There was one thread that was talking about making edits to the full screen version. And then thread 2, which is the direction we are going, is a modal that can expand between the two. And those were across like an MR and an issue.
To be fair, I think it's hard to figure out what's going on with the modal because things have been changing like multiple times a day for the last month. So I don't know if this is like the best example of cross collaboration between UX and engineering, just because there's too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to this modal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think, like, I know Carrie and Miracle have been like staying in touch on what's happening, but it's also like we're adding in like the PMM team and then also Novatic as another source. So it's it's a little bit beyond our team, and it's also like, I think, trying to figure out what we can control and what we can't control. So I think it's like a bit of negotiation back and forth has been happening between Carrie and Miracle, and like, correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's kind of been my take, is just like we're trying to figure out what's possible. And then also from my end, I think I just saw the full screen version, and like, to me, I was just like, this doesn't seem like a version that I would feel comfortable releasing. Like, it just, not because of the UX or Miracle or anything like that. It was just, that was kind of the final product, that was, the work was presented, and I was like, based on what it looks like today, this doesn't look like something that we could release, which is why we went back to the drawing board and did the modal and having to go back to it. So I think to an extent, like, it definitely wasn't reflected in the issues or the MR. I think that was more Slack conversations, but it was just because there was like really a lot of tweaking and quick things that we needed, that in an issue, I think it would have just taken too long. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, Carrie or Miracle.
Yeah, and again, specifically when it comes to this modal, it's just every day something is changing, and there's just so much back and forth between me, Carrie, Philza, Nevadic, Itzik. It's hard to follow when you're gone for 2 days. So I can understand why when you came back, you're like, what is happening?
It's also like a learning curve. This is net new for us, for all of us to be doing this. And I think the next demos are going to go much more smoothly.
Yeah, but we do need to do a sync on whether Nevadic is our path forward or not. But I
I
think
really
we'll
like consensus, but
yeah,
broken record over here.
yeah. But I think we'll do probably a little mini retro once we get something out. But I also do want to get something out so we can like see, are people using it or not? Are people not using it? Like, is this worth our time investing in this? Because I think initially we thought this would be like so quick. We're like, oh yeah, like a month, we got this. And it's obviously taken a lot longer. So I think that in itself was a big learning for us.
Sounds good.
If there's nothing else, really important, but dog tax, it's due. So if you have a dog, I am expecting pictures by end of day tomorrow. That is the deadline, or else you're in big trouble. And I know there's a lot of dogs in here. Cats are welcome too, but we're here for the dogs. That's all.
Miguel, can you share a dog with me? Like, I don't have a dog, but I know you have two. So if I could like borrow a dog for this dog tax, it's very important.
Yeah, but since it's for a dog tax, I'm going to charge you with interest.
That's tax fraud. Go to jail.
No, we're filing together. It's okay. We're joint best friends. A joint best friend account.
Okay.
Lauren.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
I'm glad this is on the recording. This is good. Oh, Nathan, is that? I don't think that's a dog.
That's a fox.
It looks like my dog. It's a Shiba.
Like it does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, with that, before we're just a sea of dogs and maybe foxes, I'll end the recording. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.